Hey Emily, welcome to Automate All the Things. And I think we lost your video. So if you can go ahead and refresh that in your browser,
Oh,
it's a great way to
now.
start this
Yes, I
stream.
can do that.
There we go. You're back. Welcome to
Cool.
Automate All the Things. I am really excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I am a few time tuner in and first time guest, so really excited to be on the other side of things.
Yeah, welcome across the divide where you don't only watch, you actually come build. So I'm excited to have you. So, I'm actually like excited because actually I don't remember the last time like there was a tool, like a new tool in my arsenal. And I always kind of joke that like I keep my tools very tight because it's really hard to learn a new tool, but you've been showing me Voiceflow and I'm like really excited because voice is something I haven't explored at all. So maybe a good place to start here is you know, before voice flow, like what do people use voice for? Like you're intimately aware of the space. What is voice used for mainly? And maybe before that, introduce yourself. That'd be good. Who is Emily? And then we'll talk about voice.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Emily. I'm the head of growth at Voiceflow. Voiceflow, for everybody that is not familiar with it, we're a low code, no code tool that allows anybody to build, to design, to prototype, to launch, and ultimately build conversational apps. So, in a lot of cases, we see a lot of people publishing directly to Alexa, directly to Google Assistant, or even more frequently in the space now, you see people playing with like IoT, so like in-car assistants, custom
Right.
assistants, and also just multimodality. So, like, how do you do voice enabled commands in pre existing screen devices? And ultimately, what we've seen across the board is a lot of makers in our community experimenting, building their own bespoke style commands or apps that they can use, which we're going to do today, as well as even becoming freelancers or
Mm-hmm.
starting to work with businesses to create business experiences. So, really, all across the board right now, it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've talked about this before. Like, it seems like voice flow, as opposed to maybe other low-code tools now out there, the person building isn't necessarily the end user to an extent
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like voice flow helps people package voice apps and either kind of sell that as a service to a company that then needs that app, right? Or become consultants for companies themselves trying to build, right? And we're not going to spend like an hour here talking about your
Mm-hmm.
business model, but I'm curious, that is actually very different from a Zapier or Parabola or Integromat, where the
Mm-hmm.
person building works at a company or is kind of the beneficiary of that. So voice actually different from that.
So we have it so that like our community is really kind of split in between like the makers and the
Mm-hmm.
individual pros that I think would fit that
Right, right.
description a little bit better. But we do have tons of teams that use it internally, that live by it. They use it basically as their repository for all of their different experiences that they're launching. Ideally, our goal is to be able to create one central hub for any conversational channel, and that's across voice, chat, or any new interface. So
Right.
we really see that as kind of a bigger change. I think what's interesting about it though is that we take kind of that same what you build is what you get approach, um, similar to kind of the publishing type tools like Webflow,
Right.
where every block that you use in our canvas is code. So
Right.
it is the goal is to be ready to deploy, which
Right.
is very exciting for a lot of makers, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I'm actually really excited to deploy, hopefully, a voice app in the next hour, right? Like I've been trumpeting to everyone today. They're like, hey, today I'm going to wake up, build a voice app, go to sleep, That's kind of my, you know, uh, um, the goal for today. But I'm curious, before we jump in, for me, voice has not played a huge part in like my day-to-day life, right? As much as I would like to be able to say like, hey, what are my tasks today, right? That doesn't seem like in my very weird
Mhm.
life where I'm confined to my apartment and kind of working. What are some use cases that you found where voice is prominent? Is it on the field? Like how is voice used that may not be the way people here use voice?
Yeah, so I would say like a lot of people in the consumer market spend their time in like the weather, the timers, the the task list, the shopping list, like your kind of daily habits or routines. And then kind of explore a little bit deeper for similar to how you use web apps, where you might go play on Steam like once or twice a week, or if you're at home every day, versus you setting your alarm. So there's different kind of settings for that. But what I would say in like the real world, you see a lot of instances and people reimagining things like the drive-through experience and going through that, or everybody has had an experience where they've been on hold and you're pressing 1 through 9 to get connected to somebody. But voice is making that so that you're not going through this crazy data tree of waiting, but instead the machine can ask, how can I help you? And it's listening for intents that you're saying to direct you. Or even just on construction fields. I think like that's an interesting one. As of late, they're hands-free. They need to log what's going on with inventory. They can using devices.
Yeah, no, and I think when just from this chat, and I'm really excited to dive in here, but like I view voice apps as the outcome, but you're talking as much greater than that in the sense of like it's a conversation, like moments where you want to have a conversation, either because that's the only medium, voice is the only way to discuss, or that it's either more convenient, right? And it's not necessarily confined to one channel, which is Alexa. It could be anytime, right? Like, hey, like you get to the bus and you're like, hey, I just want a bus pass, right? Or that's a bad example because there you can actually just use your phone. But okay, so we can package anything and have any conversation, and you guys enable that. What we're going to do today is actually just build a very simple voice app that lets you ask like, hey Alexa, open automate all the things, and it's going to talk a little bit about automate all the things, and then interestingly is actually you're going to be able to say when is the next automate all the things, who is the guest on the next automate all the things, and be able to answer that. And what I'm hoping for folks joining is not necessarily the tie-in to Airtable. That's just a tool that we're using to know, but it's like any moment where you're going to think of like, hey, a voice would be good here. Right? Either someone calling in, or you're using another tool where you're keeping your information, you like to surface it via voice. Voiceflow is going to be the right tool. So I'm excited to dive in here. Let's get this going. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, Emily. So you should see it. There we go. And now folks should see it as well. And I'm going to go back to the kind of Voiceflow interface, and I am very new to this. So this is actually like Emily, walk me through where do we start here? Like what am I looking at? Where do we start?
Yeah, so for people who aren't familiar, this is our dashboard that you get dropped into once you sign up at Voiceflow. We have it set up so it's kind of Kanban style or custom list style, so you can keep yourself a little organized. This case, we have it set up right now as a default list and a new list, but you can create a new list by clicking that plus button, or you can drag your projects across or create a new project in any one of them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a brand new project. So we're going to go through that, and what we're going to see on this page is we'll have an opportunity to name it. So in this case, we can name it whatever we'd like. If you had an icon, in this case, you can always drop that in there. And we're going to select Amazon Alexa as our channel.
Oh, I can't. Oh, invocation name.
Yes.
Automate all the things.
So what is interesting about voice apps versus normal apps in this case or graphic apps is that the action to actually enable them is you saying something. So whatever the invocation name is here is what someone's going to say to trigger your experience.
Okay, so automate all the things. I like that to be what, okay, awesome. It's kind of cool because I'm like, this is happening. This is a real thing. Like we're actually going to build this. So, okay, I'm creating that project. Oh no. What happened?
Here, do a hard refresh because I think we might have already had one on that because I was building in here yesterday. But if you just do a refresh, we should be able to be okay here.
It's okay. We can rename it later, can we?
Yeah, we can rename it after.
Okay, cool. There we go. Boom. Let's just call it 2 and then we'll rename it. There we go, just in case. No.
Why is that not working? Here, let's go back to your creator.voiceflow.
No, Emily, I still believe in this.
Yeah, no, it's
This is the
totally
live
fine.
building problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
cancel
go
this.
back to dashboard. Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
so
here.
it did actually create them.
Okay, here we go.
There we go. Okay, cool. So now that we're in here, what we're going to want to do is kind of explore a little bit of the differences that you see here versus graphic. So in graphic user interface, I think a lot of us are more familiar with, okay, everything's around visuals, everything's connected to a database, that's what's displayed.
Right.
In this case, it's the same, except it's all containing actions. So
Right.
on the left side, we have all of our steps and all of our flows. So the
Right.
steps are all of the blocks that we can drag into the canvas at any point, and that will be coding that action. So we have an array, everything from responses, which is what the actual device will be saying to you.
Right.
User inputs being what you are saying as a user back into the device,
Got
logic to help to organize that. And then integrations, which we'll be getting into a little bit later if you want to connect that to a different DB or let's say trigger an action outside of that. And then lastly, channel specific things.
Got it. So if I understand it right, we're going to have a response, which is what voice says to us, right? This Alexa app in our case. User input is that moment where you give that user an option, right? Like, what is your problem, right? Like, what is your issue? Or in our case, you know, which menu option do you want to learn about, automate all the things? Logic is depending on what that answer is, you might want to return different types of information.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, integration is like where you actually get the information or third party kind of pulling in. So our flow, my understanding of the app we want to build is like just a template like, hey, you've opened up the Automate All the Things app. Do you want to learn about Automate All the Things? Or do you want to know who and when is the next stream? Right? That feels like two very simple branches we can start with. So from here, I guess, how do I prompt a default like, hey, you're now in the Automate All the Things voice app. Like, say something.
Yeah. So basically what you want to start with every single experience that you do is a welcome block. So what you're going to want to do is in the response side, you're going to drag a speak block onto the canvas. Perfect. So in this will be your welcome. So you can rename the block if you want, or you can just type whatever you'd like here. I tend to try to rename them because I'm a stickler for my organization and my canvas. So you can. So
I'm gonna say that I am as well, but that's just not true. I have view 58. I have unnamed zapped, unnamed fields, but I'm gonna try to keep it organized for the stream. So welcome message. I'm also very bad at naming things. So welcome message, that feels right.
Perfect. Okay, and then you're gonna type your welcome message here. So whatever you want the device to say.
A chat. Let me know. What do we say? Like, I guess we say. Let me know in the chat what we should say. I'm really bad at this. Could be a hard stream. I'm gonna say, welcome, automator. So I guess so. You know, what should I say? Like, I don't know. What should I say?
Yeah. So typically people would say like, welcome to whatever this experience is, or you can say welcome automator if that's how people identify. I normally use this as like a good way to introduce how to use the skill. So like, welcome automator. Here you can learn about the next episodes of Automate All the Things, or like learn about the stream itself. Like for instance, like you can have something like that.
Okay, so let's say welcome automator. You know, do you want to learn more about the stream, or are you a regular? Tell me if this is okay. Like I don't know. Like, are you a regular who wants to learn more, wants to know who's coming on next and when? Man, this is such poor syntax, right? I feel like I'm not giving them clear options as to what they should say, right? And I'm worried about this. But how should I improve this?
what's the interesting thing about voice? There's like lots of ways that you could do this. So
Right.
unlike with like a chat interface where you can like limit it to buttons sometimes,
Right.
or you could be very constrained, we can do that and we can limit it to, okay, they can only click X things.
Right.
But in conversation, I might say like a variant of things. And so we'll go through how we can streamline this and how we can capture if I say something that's like a little bit different than how you've written it.
Okay, so do you want to learn more about the stream, or are you a regular who wants to know who's coming on next and when? Wow, awful. We'll keep it there, and we'll improve it as we go.
Are you a regular who wants to know the next episode, or just like...
Yeah,
or
perfect, the next episode.
There you go.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, we've got our welcome message.
Okay, great. So the next thing that we're going to want to do here is we want to connect that flow together. And you can just dismiss Braden from intercom. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going. Sorry, Braden.
He's in the chat. I'm sure Braden's in the chat. So Braden, if I'm messing up, don't talk to me here. Talk to me in the actual chat. That's what I'm monitoring now.
So next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click the small circle next to Alexa Open Default Template. And you're going to drag that and connect it to the welcome message.
Boom. Easy.
Perfect. So now what that's doing is when you start your experience, it's going to start it, then go to the welcome message first. Awesome. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is start to set up what are the answers to those questions. So we're going to build it in what I call novice mode of just like making it as easy as possible. And then we're going to do best practices to make it a little bit easier for this interface.
I appreciate that. I very much. Thank you for, I appreciate that. Okay. And what is the novice mode?
Novice mode is we're going to go down to the user input blocks and we're going to drag over a choice block.
Got it. Okay.
Cool. So you can just drop that wherever. So what's great about the choice block is it is exactly that. You're now creating path choices that they can go down. And there's some ones that are preset in that, but we're going to do custom ones today to answer, learn more, and next stream.
Got it. Okay. So this is essentially saying what are the possible answers to that question that I asked. Is it, do you want to learn more about the stream, or do you want to know who's on next? And we're going to kind of say these are the two paths you can go down, right? And we're going to be quite literal with what answers we accept in those paths.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Cool. So what we're going to do here, we're going to write, let's say, learn more as one of the paths. Cool. And we're going to create that. So that will automatically create that path for you. And then you might see this thing called utterances. So what's interesting about this is that this is how someone can interact with that. So these are all potential ways that someone might want to say or type learn more. So let's start off with writing learn more. Then maybe like I want to learn more, or tell me more, just you can write a few of them in here, and you can always go back and testing and add more as you see fit.
I think what's really interesting in this is that this is very different from, this kind of canvas when we think about information, where you're saying like you have an intent, a choice that someone needs to make, and you're saying here's how all these different choices can be manifest. Essentially, how can that user tell us what they
tell
want
us their
from us?
intent or their intention? Yeah.
So it's almost like you're kind of saying to be able to, I'm not sure why the Capagen is like going crazy here, but hopefully that'll stop. Conversation design is very different, I guess, from what I'm used to, which is like new record in view, right? That's like a pretty literal thing that happens. Here we're saying like, oh, well, the intent might be learn more, and here's how the 8 ways that could manifest itself. So that's really interesting. Yeah. So we're saying, tell me more. I want to learn more, about the stream. Yeah. Feels like, okay, so those feel like options. So that's path 1, right?
And now what we're going to want to do is add the second path. So we're going to click add path right at the bottom. Perfect. We're going to call this one next episode. Perfect. And another way of thinking about this, if you want to like tie it back to other no-code tools, is like think about these as triggers. And like triggers can mean like a variant amount of things. So we're basically creating that trigger and telling our experience that this is when a trigger is going to occur, and then defining what that trigger is before it pushes to the next action.
Right. And it's not, yeah, okay, that totally makes sense. So here it might be, so let me just kind of, let me think of what people would say. So if I ask the question, who wants to know the next episode? So maybe next episode, what's coming up, enabled, I don't know, your conversation, like what would be, I don't know, what would people say? I have no idea. I don't talk to people anymore.
Maybe when is the next episode?
Who's on? Guest. Anything with the word guest.
Yep.
Feels about right. Time. Who is the next guest? Yeah. Who is the next
Good
guest?
call.
Is this what conversation? It's like brainstorming what you expect people to say.
Yeah. What's interesting is that like one of the things that we'll get into is like we focus a lot on the testing experience because things are so different when you type them versus when you say them. It's like the equivalent to me is like thinking about like, remember when you were in university and you had to write like crazy essays and you would use words that you would never say aloud?
I'm going to disappoint you.
Same way.
I have a degree.
Did you never do that? Okay, you never wrote essays.
No, it was like prove, you know, and I was like, okay, I could do that, right? It was very good for me. And I guess that's probably why I'm so bad at like naming variables or figuring out what people are saying. A thesaurus is your best friend. That's totally right.
Definitely.
Okay, so I feel like we've got a good. So how do we actually say, like, okay, go from the welcome message to the block to what I think is the easier answer, which is, you know, what is automate all the things?
Yes. So I think before we leave this choice block, there's one other thing that we're going to need to do. So when you scroll down, you see this else area where it says reprompt. So this is super important because what happens if somebody says something that you have no possible path for? So in this case, this is what the response happens if they say something that's wrong.
Right.
So I always do this just to make sure that people don't get frustrated as a user. So in this case, you can always write, sorry, I didn't catch that. Try asking when is the next episode, or about the stream, for instance.
I'm calling an audible here. I'm saying, hey, you're not talking to a human, and I didn't quite get that. Try learn more, or
when is the next episode?
When is the next episode?
Cool.
Oh man, I would be a terrible conversation designer. I would just be like, those are not the right answers. Please give me answers I can actually work. So this is saved.
Good. Yep.
Okay.
So you can click back onto the canvas. Awesome.
Okay, and then connect. I'm imagining something around there.
Yes. Perfect. So what you're going to do is click that little circle again and drag that towards your choice block. Awesome.
Easy.
So yeah, super, super easy. You can put it wherever you want. That's kind of the beauty of a freeform canvas.
I know. It gives me a lot of, because I know that this is not it doesn't look good, but that's okay. We're functionally right. So there we go. So
everybody's different.
So welcome message, and then so now it's gonna try to understand which one of those two we're trying to fit in. And I think before we test it, I'd love to have learn more work, right? So if someone actually says, hey, learn more, let's just give them like, hey, automate all the things is a weekly stream.
Yeah, 100%. So what we're going to want to do here is scroll back over to our steps. We're going to drag over a speak block.
Speak block.
Yeah.
Here. Vertical.
Anywhere you want.
I know. Okay, so, automate all the things is a weekly stream on Twitch, helping you work smarter, not harder. I've decided that's my tagline. I quite like it.
It's better. It's good.
Check out AATT.io. Is it going to understand that that's like a...
So,
or is it going to... I should say AA... I should put spaces.
Yes. So because this is phonetic, it's interesting where you're going to have to type out things in a way that they may not look correct, but they're going to sound correct. So let's go with that just to keep it safe.
Keep it safe. Okay. Okay. And do we need... So now we have... Let me kind of click back on the canvas. Yeah. And I need to connect it, right? I need to say if we're at learn more, go to
that.
this.
Yeah.
And I sense that now I'm going to be like really deep into voice apps. I'm going to start building these like funky voice apps that may not be useful, but I'm excited about this. So our flow is, for some reason, it's bending. So welcome.
Yeah.
2 choices. The novice version of this is 2 choices: learn more or next episode. And then if you say learn more, we're going to give you, hey, so let's test this out. I imagine plus the big test button.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to click start test below there. And then it's speaking in your headphones, but they can't hear it. But people, you can imagine that Alexa's voice is saying that.
And then could I, so I see the 2 options here, which I imagine are like the options from here, but can I just type anything?
So you'll have to type one of the possible ways that you wrote.
Okay,
or
so
you
it's
can
like
click
1
that
to 1.
chip.
What if I say it? Well, can I try saying it?
You could try saying it. Try saying about the stream.
About the stream. Whoa.
There you go. Awesome. Okay. So as you can see, it kind of like lights up, shows you where you're going. And if you go back into the canvas, especially when it's much larger, you'll see like what the path you took to get there. Yeah. Which is really good for testing. And I wish that happened when I was debugging CSS. But like that's kind of the gist. But what you've realized here is that it just stops, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like unfulfilled. In the same way that you want to like package when you're doing like a web design all in like a wrapper, you want to have like an ending too. Right. So what we might want to do here is we're going to click exit or escape and exit our prototype just by clicking escape canvas. Perfect. And what we're going to want to do is drag in another speak block right at the top. Yep. And we're going to create like an exit message or like a goodbye, like stay tuned, like don't forget to tune in next week on Twitch or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and then so this is that speak, and I'm gonna say don't forget to tune in next week.
Exactly. Perfect.
So before we continue, I have an option to give folks in the chat the ability to like play around with it while I'm building.
Yes.
Okay, let's just drop that in the chat because I know it's frustrating that you can't hear how awesome this is. Oh, hey James, good to see you. So test, share prototype.
Yeah, so we're gonna do text and transcript. Or sorry, you want them to hear it. So
yeah, I think it'd be cool if folks can hear it. So I'm gonna copy that link, voice and transcript.
Yep. And then
so dropping that in the chat.
Perfect.
So I imagine this is going to be up to date. So if while we're doing it, if you want to play around with it, go ahead and drop that. That is less risky than me trying to bring in the audio from the browser into the stream, which has like a 90% chance of us taking up the rest of the stream.
Yeah. So, and if you want to see, just in case they want to see like a fuller prototype version of this, we can always click back over there on your dash, and I'll just show you guys how, if you go back to your...
Let's do that at the end if it's okay. I want to show folks the thing, and we'll share like a real proper app at the end.
Cool.
And hopefully tomorrow, folks will be able to say like, hey Alexa, what is automate all the things? And we'll get that answer. So how do we tie back this loop so that we end here? Is it just by going here?
So we can in this case, we can just drag it directly there. Or we could create a choice block if people wanted to go back, let's say, and ask more things, which is probably what they're going to want to do. Or in other cases, we can always make an exit intent. But in this case, what we're going to want to do is just connect that directly to the exit block, assuming that that's the end of the experience.
Okay, cool. So some folks prefer writing the code, and I'm totally okay with that. I just don't know how. So for me, this is going to be the extent of writing Alexa apps for the near future. But everyone can do you. So
you can also export this into code if you want, Monty.
There you go. So everyone gets to cake. So I'm gonna we'll send you the code. We'll give you the GitHub repo. let's go ahead and now that is the first flow, right? So if I test this,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and test.
So we're going to click start
test.
Perfect.
Okay, so hold space. About the stream.
And then, so now when that finishes, it's going to go to the exit block and it'll make sense.
Cool.
A little bit
I also love the fact that it progresses on the canvas as I go along. So for anyone building no-code tools with this kind of canvas type UI, which shall be
Take
unnamed,
note.
I'm not going to name any, but I really like that flow. Okay, so now we have that first flow, which is folks can learn about the stream.
Yeah.
Now the second flow, which I think is a little more, how to say,
let's say meaty.
Difficult, which
dynamic.
is actually like dynamic data, right? So,
yeah.
How do we go about pulling information from an Airtable base, right? So, and my goal here would be maybe I'll take a moment here to show the Airtable base. I've got this is my whole base where I kind of manage all of my streams, right? And I've got like my everything about every single stream is here. And one of the views that I have is this week, which just checks whether this stream is happening this week. And that view has one record in it, which is, the next stream. So how do we go about having Voiceflow ping Airtable and be like, hey, this week view, what is the record that's in there? Pull the guest name to start. I feel like that's easier. And then we'll do, the time of the stream.
Yeah. So I think what might be cleaner just so then that way we have more room to like mess around and not screw up your Airtable base is let's create a quick dummy Airtable base for us to play with.
Sure.
I just don't want to accidentally ruin all your beautiful filters.
How would you ruin my filters? We're going to do a get call, but that's okay.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, so let's go build a base here, add a base, start from scratch. And I'm going to have this a stream base.
Cool.
So we're going to call this stream. And I'm just going to have one record. So we can just ping the actual.
Yep.
So Emily. And then we're going to have. That's it. Let's just pull the name. That feels very easy. And then we could swap it out to. Actually, I'll put stream time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a date time. Let's give that.
So for this, it might be easier for us to keep this in a field instead of as a date time. Just otherwise, we might have to do some data manipulation so it changes what it's called.
So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is, and we'll do that in Airtable. I want to see the error. I know where you're going to go here, where it's going to read the date time, but I'd rather have that error in, and then we'll fix it in Airtable after. Cool. So this next step.
So let's click escape.
It's telling me it didn't get me. Yeah, here we go.
It's picking up your random conversation.
Yeah.
So what we're going to want to do is with the next episode, we're going to want to now drag in an API block from our steps.
My favorite block. Okay.
So let's drag that. And now we're going to be able to fill in our request information for us to get connected to that Airtable that you just set up. So awesome.
This is where for folks so I'd love to know in the chat. So I feel like we've got a mix of Voiceflow folks and some Airtable folks. Let me know in the chat if you're not familiar with Airtable, right? So maybe Bird or enabled. Let me know if you're not very familiar with Airtable, and I'll spend a little more time on the actual API call. So in this case, what we're trying to pull is one record out of a table. And so how you do that in Airtable, there's this little help. Let's go to API documentation here. And then go into stream table, right? And we can go ahead and list records or retrieve a record. No, actually, let's list records, right? So we want to list records relative to a specific table. So that's just a simple get call. And you have some options of what you want to pull. So let me just go ahead and kind of copy paste this information. Okay, awesome. So folks are very familiar with Airtable, so I won't spend that much time on it. Let's go into this API call. Let's kind of break it down. So we're doing an API call to this. Let's remove these parameters, right? We don't need to specify.
Yeah, you can just delete those. Yeah.
Right. Header. We want API.
We want to write. We want to write authorization here. Perfect. And then we're going to go write bearer and then type in the API key, which you should be able to call.
API. So I'm just going to, can we do, actually, yeah. Well, I'll just change it after. There we go.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I've changed it many times. It's already changed. Now let's go ahead and we want to, do we know what call? Can we test this before we pull in a transform variable?
Yeah, we can. So let's test this. So it says that it's failed. Let's see why.
Authentication required. So I write authorization.
It should be, if you go back to your API documentation for the Airtable, that might be it.
There we go. It works. So it was just
of course.
See, James is watching, and James is a developer, so I did not want to shame and to show him that I don't know how to do API calls. So I'm happy that worked. Okay.
Perfect.
So we have our response, which is an array of one record that has 3 fields in it, created time and all that. James is proud of me. I'm happy. So what we want is this name.
Yes. So you're going to click copy to clipboard right there. Perfect. Yeah. And just paste that. So we're going to make a variable for that.
Yeah, so, and this is the second thing I do want to spend a moment on, because this is one of the cool things that other UI tools don't actually make quite difficult, because I don't know if you saw that when we did the test request, each one of these is like, it's a field within an array, and by copy pasting, it doesn't just copy paste like the value in that, it actually copy paste what you need to put, so that every time you pull an API call, it's going to go to the response, go to the records, take the first one, go to the field called name, and input that value into this response. So I actually think that's like a really neat way of taking an API response and turning it into something that can be reused, and is very thoughtful of, like, you may not know how to write code, but you know how to copy paste, so you can do this. So I thought that was really cool. So props to your developers.
Our Eng team is going to love that. Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. So we want to call this something, or?
Yeah. So we want to map this to a variable that we can use, because this is going to change every week. So let's just call it guest. That's perfect. And now that's been created automatically.
Okay. And this, do we want to run it at the moment where someone calls the next episode, or do we just want to run it at the beginning so we can instantly respond?
So it's going to be really, really fast.
Okay.
So what we're going to want to do is we're going to tag that over. That's perfect. But we want a speak block to actually contain that variable, not just get it and then have it. So what we're going to want to do, I see you organizing now.
Very important. I feel like there we go. Okay, here we go. This feels better. This feels more natural. Cool. Okay.
So what we're going to want to do is drag in another handy dandy speak block, my personal favorite block.
I hope so.
And we're going to type in a response. So like the next guest is, and then we'll type in with curly brackets, guest. Yeah.
Awesome. This is so cool. I'm like, this is really cool. Okay, maybe we added variants. So actually this is like a different way. So if people are always pinging, you can say, oh, so exciting. We've got none other than
yes,
coming on. Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
So, and this is on success.
Yes.
So I'm pulling success.
And now stating that.
Okay, we can try this. Is it good to go?
Yeah, let's test it.
Okay. I'm excited. Okay, so start test. Next episode.
There we go.
That's amazing. Okay, we're doing a
Awesome.
success. I find like that is such a cool. Like we're not done. We've got 15 more minutes of cool things we can do here. But like, man, just the fact that we did that in 30 minutes, and it's like if I just changed, what if we like I want to show people this is real. So what if we change to like
Elon Musk?
Who wants to,
I don't know.
No, let's give it James
Yeah.
quick. He's in the chat. Let's got Colleen. Sorry, James. I'm bumping you. We've got Colleen on next week. Okay, so let's go back.
And you can also, actually no, this should probably be fine. Yeah, I was gonna say I could show you how you can start your test from any block, so you don't have to hear your core welcome message every time. Yeah.
There's okay,
just
so I want to know
you.
who is the next desk. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, start over.
Slight accent. Now you can see that reprompt in action.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Okay, who is the next guest? Wow.
There you go. Hey, it works.
That's so cool. Oh man. Okay. Wow. Okay. Now I need to take a moment here. I was not expecting that to be that easy. So I'll leave it up to you. Do we want to do an API call where we actually get the real information, right? Or like, so do we want to adjust that API call to work with this, which is live real data? So, and folks in the chat, feel free to kind of, to pipe in here. Or do we want to work on the date, right? So right now I'm not saying the date. Emily, do we want to do date first and then maybe move it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like why don't we do a second variable just so people can see what that looks like, and then let's try it with the real thing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so let's put the actual date here, stream time. So let's try pull it in as is, and we'll fix it, right? So it's going to be a little weird. So let's go ahead and in the API call.
Yeah. So first we're going to exit prototyping.
Escape. There we go.
There we go.
And then we want to add another variable. I'm like already confident. I'm like, test request.
You're on it. I don't even need to say anything.
Yeah,
it's your
there you
stream
go.
now. Yeah.
No, it's your stream. This is so. I just did the test call. I went to get that stream time. Right. I'm gonna call this stream time.
Yep.
Stream time. Stream start time. I don't know. Stream time. No. Contains. Oh, greater. Okay.
It had a space in it. Yeah.
Okay. So stream time.
There you go. Perfect.
So now let's go here. We're saying in both the next guest is, and it's happening stream time. So
you might want to say probably happening at or
coming on and it's happening at stream time. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So again, folks in the chat, I'm just going to drop the link again so folks could give it a go on their end because you won't hear the voice, unfortunately. There you go. I just dropped it in the chat. And then let's go start testing this.
So let's start our prototype this time instead of at the beginning. I was like, just to save you some time.
Let's do it. So here?
Let's do it from the choice block. Yeah, from there. Perfect. Yeah. It gets, as you can imagine, going over the same. Just...
So I want to say, okay, but I do want to test with my voice. So who is the next guest?
And then funny formatting right there. Yeah. But it's pulling.
Okay.
So it's there.
So for folks for all of you who can't hear us, what it just said, it's happening at 2021-04-21T16 :00:00.0000C, which if you're a developer, you totally understand that's, GMT time on the 21st of April. But if you're not, which is most people, especially people asking what is automate all the things, we need to put it into like human language. And so we can actually do that in Airtable by changing around a formula and taking the data and moving it into like a more human format. So So let's call this human date time.
Awesome.
And then it's going to be, okay, so datetime format. Now I'm going to go and have to datetime format, and then supported specifiers here. So we want to say probably like the day, right? So like Wednesday. Yeah. Where's Wednesday? Day
of the week.
Sunday. So DDDD.
Yeah.
So that's 1. So we're going to take stream time and output as DDDD. So that's going to say like Sunday. I guess the month in words, yes. Which is MM. I'm seeing a trend here. And then we want Sunday, March, day with the specifier.
Yeah.
Not quarter of the year. Day of the year, cardinal. Yeah. No, DDDD. But we want the, ordinal days, 1 to 31st. So see?
Yes.
I'm learning as well here. I've never used this before. So we want, and then I know that it's always at 1 p.m. So I'm just going to go at 1 p.m. So Perfect. I'm trying to spell it out as a human.
Yes.
So Wednesday, April 21st.
That's awesome.
At 1 p.m.
That's totally going to work. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Does that? So I'm gonna zoom in here. I don't see if folks saw it. So what I did there is I took the date and then I formatted it in a way that like a human or like someone reading it literally would write out. So it's day, year, which says it is April 4th.
Touche. They're saying add the time zone. Yeah.
That's a good point. So at 1 p.m.
Eastern. Yeah.
Awesome. Can always count on Colleen and Penny correcting us. Appreciate that.
Good call.
Okay. So saving that. There we go. Okay. So this Wednesday, April 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Beautiful. So now we need to pull human date time out of the API call.
Yes.
So coming here, let me exit here.
Yes.
Come here. And then I can test request. I should have a different, there we go. And copy that, put that into
swap
stream
that
time,
out. Yeah.
And that's
perfect.
It, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little excited here. I'm like, here, let's test this out. Start test. Oh no, I want to start from the, whatever. Well, let's do the whole thing.
It's all good. The anticipation.
Right. Let me go ahead and next episode.
We did it! Hey!
Okay, that's another confetti right there. That's amazing. That's amazing that we built that in what is now 40 minutes. So that is truly, I often get excited, but this was really, really cool. So with the last 5 minutes here, I do want to swap out the Airtable base with my actual Airtable base.
Let's do it.
And this will almost be ready to like publish after the stream. So I'm pretty excited about it. So let's go here. And essentially the only difference here is that the API call, instead of being limited to, not limited, but open to like every single record in the table, and we're us getting the first one, what I've done here is I've actually have a view that has a field that is this week, and that checks whether the stream start time is the same week as today. So it says if the week number of the stream start time is equal to today's week number, say that it's this week. If not, I say it's not this week. And then I filter on that. So if I go ahead and go into APIs here, let me go into help, API documentation. And I want to go into my stream and content table. I want to list records. I can limit to a view.
Awesome.
Right? So let's just go ahead and pull this. Let's go here. Let's change this get request to a different one. And then the max records we don't care about. And then the view is just going to be this week, this underscore week. I think this should work. And it's going to return a bunch of, so this one we're going to have to we can just, we test request. Whoops. Okie dokes. And now it's going to return a ton. Now, one thing I will say, it's really hard to search variables here. So feedback for your dev team. So I'm going to go ahead and find guest name. So that's going to be guest name.
Perfect.
Like that.
And that is a good piece of advice. I'm going to write that down.
And then the other one is, let's just do guest name for now. Date time. Do I have? Time. I do have a variable somewhere. Time. Stream start time. No, but it's not in that human. Okay, we can just add a formula field here. So this is stream start human. And we can actually just copy paste what we just did a moment ago.
Perfect. This is awesome, Aaron. I'm going to use and abuse this date formatting.
Yeah, no, go for it. I can drop that.
That's awesome.
Stream start time. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, April 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern. Great. So let's do another API call here. Let's do that one more time. Test request. And I called this stream start human. There we go. Copy paste that. Boom. I think that's the only thing that has to change.
Yeah, I believe so. So let's start it from the learn more block.
Right here.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, who is the next guest?
I did it! Hey, that's awesome.
That's really cool. So we get another success story. That's amazing. So we've just built an Alexa app that lets us wonder when the next, what is the stream, responds with what the stream is. And then if the person wants to learn more, we'll tell it who's coming and when. And yeah, this is live. Like we could push this live. Now I imagine there's a few things we should think about, like loops. And so you've actually created a much more complex version of this, which a good place to end.
Yeah.
So do you want me to show with Airtable?
Yeah, sure.
So this is an example that Emily, again, happy to share. Oh, this one was an easy one.
This one's my cleaned up version of it. That's like the
one.
proper way of doing it. But you can show the crazy one if you want.
This is this one right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason why I say this one's the crazy one is because you can use like organizational structures or what, in this case, we call them intents. So you don't have to have as many crazy arrows everywhere. But I built this one not using any of them so you guys can see the flow like entirely. Awesome. But this one answers about the stream, recommendations that I pretended I was Aron and obviously added Voiceflow in on that one. Yeah. Next show details, and then just a random Twitch stream detail response.
Yeah, so you can actually create these much more complex examples. So what I hope folks do after this is, go build a voice app. Now like there's nothing stopping folks from doing it. So Emily, how can folks stay in touch with you? So go ahead and drop email, Twitter, whatever you want. Folks, I'm sure folks are gonna have questions and are gonna hopefully like me dive into Voiceflow. I'm really excited to release this Alexa app. Is there maybe a good place to end is can I just can I just deploy it?
So basically, in order to get anything on the Alexa store, what we can do is we can push it to Alexa. So now you can like do your editing. You're probably going to want to add a little bit more to this to make it more of an Aron experience. But what you can do is right next to the share button, there's the little Alexa symbol in the circle right there. So what you're going to want to do here. So on my side, I already connected to my Amazon developer account. So you're going to need to connect to your Amazon. I wouldn't recommend sharing your password on the stream. No, I'm not going to do that. But once you log in there, it automatically uploads over to your interaction model. So it takes the code from here, puts it up in there. Any updates that you make here, you can push directly to it, just like in GitHub.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna work on it a little bit, maybe and release an Alexa app, and folks will be able to know when another channel that I have to manage now. But at least it'll be very easy because it's connected to my Airtable base. Okay, folks. So that's it for today. Huge thanks to you, Emily, for coming. I really appreciate you coming on. I am like ecstatic about starting to play with this. So really appreciate you coming, and hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe we can come back on and we can throw in what we can do with visuals, or we could build like an interactive game.
Totally. That'd be awesome. So yeah, huge thanks to everyone coming. Next week, we're going to have Andy Cloak from Data Fetcher, which is a new app on top of Airtable, lets you query any API. Hope to see you there. If you're new here, give a follow or subscribe or whatever it is you need to do. I think it's follow on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. That way you get notified the next time, which is going to be happening next week at 1 p.m. If you forget, you can always ask Alexa soon enough to say like, hey, Alexa, when is the next Automate All the Things? Okay, Emily, really appreciate you joining. Thanks everyone for coming, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye, everyone.